Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. The reason we're here today is that we're not being represented at the table. There's a lot of issues that are going on, and each time these discussions happen, it seems to be that the farmer's responsible for everything that's happening. There's a number of topics. Climate change, all these issues on climate change. We're talking about 37.4% of agricultural emissions, but we sequester carbon. That figure hasn't been measured. We're talking, we got it from the department in recent weeks, that it'll be 2030 before we'll know when our figures will be there. So you have to subtract that figure from the 37.4. So what is it? So how can the people that's going to the negotiations agree anything when they don't know the figures? How can the Citizens' Assembly come out and say we have to cut the herd by 30%? I'd like to know what it's based on, how they got to that figure, if they don't have the figures in the first place. Then we go along and look at things like we're saying nitrates, more storage for slurry, all these sort of things in agriculture. We're listening to it night after night on prime time television. You think there was no one else responsible for anything? The figures, there's 7.5 million litres of raw sewage flowing into the rivers daily, as reported in the Examiner. Who's talking about that? Why are we doing more? I think it's time for farmers to send a message back that we're stopping this train right here now on the tracks, and we're doing no more till everyone steps around the table and show what they're doing. I think that's the message we have to send back. We're being quoted with what we have to do, and we have to cut nitrogen, we have to cut herd and everything else. We need to say we're stopping this train here, and until everyone around the table is showing what they're doing, and this is done on a fair basis, we're going no further. And I can't understand how the people that represent us can go to this table and, for example, one leader came out on primetime television, Tim Cullinane, and he states the fact that 22%, that farmers have agreed to cut emissions by 22%. He states this on primetime television. What farmers is he talking about? And then he goes on to agree 25%. What farmers? I haven't been contacted. How many here have been contacted? I'd say no one. But they have agreed this on our behalf. We don't agree that. We haven't agreed that, not on the figures and any of the information that we have. And the last point I'll make on that is this. Adam Henson, he presents Country File. I think it was August 2020 episode. They did a piece on carbon sequestration on his farm. He has 4,000 acres of grain, 600 sheep, 200 cattle. And he produces 1,100 tons of carbon, and he sequesters 550 tons. So he has a net production of 500 tons. So he said to the guy when it was all done, how serious or how worried should I be about this? And he was told, well, he said, you're not too bad in the scale of things. You're about the equivalent of a third of a jumbo jet flight. Remember this now, a third of a jumbo jet flight from London to New York. So we take this big operator 3 years to be the equivalent of one flight out of London. How many flights leave London every day? Just London alone. So what they're talking about is absolutely nonsense. And the reason this is happening, is because the people that are going to the table are saying nothing. They're keeping their mouths shut. And I think it's time for us to say enough's enough. And if you want to say that, you can walk away there, but we're not signing up to this. That's what needs to happen. Because if we sign up to this, what will happen is they keep telling us we need to leave the world for our children coming ahead, but what will happen is there will be a world, but they'll be hungry and they'll have nothing to eat. I just saw recently this week in America, beef is at an all-time high in price. A third of the herd is gone because of drought and shortage of food for them. And it says by the end of this year, beef is going to be at an all-time high. It'll be like gold. So where do these people here that wants to get rid of beef farmers think the beef is coming from? Because Brazil is going to send the beef to America and not here. So as simple as that. The last point I'll make is on it's on food. What I do as a farmer all my life is I produce food. And food is the most important thing. It's better than any gold in the bank, because if you don't have food, It doesn't matter about the gold in the bank. And guess who holds food in their hand? Us, the farmers. And why are we getting the scraps at the table? Because we've allowed this to happen. And the way we sell our produce is what's wrong. And you can't go blaming the people that's buying it off us because we've allowed it to happen. We've got to sit down, and this is a message I'd like to go out from here today, is we're sitting down, it starts today. We're having a serious debate among farmers how we sell our produce, because the way we have been doing it is over. And we are starting today on that debate. And when that debate, and we have that planned out, we need to start in with the stakeholders and say, like, take milk. I just heard yesterday on the radio they're talking about milk down in Cork, and they wanted the price fixed. They haven't the price fixed for March yet. So who sells their produce and decides to wait a month or 2 months before they know what it is? Grain. I was talking to a grain farmer. He says, I'll have next year's grain in the ground before I know the price for this year's. The beef, you send your animals into the factory and you hope for the best. So you see, the thing is, we've been taught how to breed animals, how to feed them, how to farm, animal husbandry, everything. We were never taught how to sell our produce. But I can tell you one thing, the way we're doing it is laughable, and we need to change it. And if we don't change it, I would say it's time to say, call the plug, pull in, because there's no point continuing to work the way farmers are working for scraps. I leave it at that.